Ambassador Zethkri had seen enough battlefields to recognize the scent of death before it arrived. The Corvan diplomat's forearms gestured nervously as he watched the human delegation disembark from their transport vessel, their faces carved from stone and steel. To the Galactic Council, humans were nothing more than efficient killers, expensive but devastatingly effective mercenaries who had turned the tide in 3 major conflicts over the past decade. "They fight like demons," Zethkri had heard Admiral Vostar whisper during the last council session. "No fear, no hesitation, it's unnatural." The council had summoned the human representatives to Station Nexus 7 for what they called a cultural exchange program, but Zethkri knew better. The galaxy's major powers were growing nervous about humanity's rapid expansion and military prowess. They wanted to understand what made these creatures so formidable, hoping to find weaknesses they could exploit. Captain Sarah Chen led the human delegation with the same calm precision she'd shown when her unit had broken the siege of Kepler 442. Behind her walked Colonel Marcus Rivera, whose tactical genius had saved the Andromedan colonies from the void swarm. These were warriors who had earned their reputation in blood and plasma fire. "Welcome to Station Nexus 7, Zethkri announced, his translator converting his chittering speech into human standard. "We are honored by your presence." Captain Chen nodded curtly. "The honor is ours, Ambassador. We've brought a full cultural package as requested, including our educational protocols." Educational protocols? Zethkri's mandibles clicked in confusion. What could human children possibly teach the most advanced civilizations in the galaxy? The first presentation took place in the station's main amphitheater. Representatives from 12 species filled the curved seats, their various appendages, tentacles, and sensory organs focused on the massive holographic display. Captain Chen stood at the center, her uniform pristine despite having traveled across 3 star systems. "You've seen us fight," she began, her voice carrying easily through the chamber. "You've hired us to win your wars, break your sieges, defeat your enemies, but you've never asked yourselves why humans excel at warfare when we come from a world with no natural weapons, no armored hide, no venomous stingers." The display flickered to life, showing images of Earth. Rolling green hills, blue oceans, cities gleaming under an alien sun. It looked peaceful, almost pastoral compared to the harsh death worlds that had spawned species like the Thorac or the Mandible clans. "The answer," Chen continued, "isn't in our biology. It's in our children." The first video began playing. Zethkri leaned forward, his 4 eyes focusing on the strange scene. A group of human younglings, they couldn't have been more than 10 standard years old, stood in formation in what appeared to be a training facility. But this wasn't military training as he understood it. "This is a youth soccer league in New Tokyo," Chen explained. "Age group, 6 to 8 years. The alien." Delegates watched in fascination as the small humans ran across a field, pursuing a spherical object with desperate intensity. They collided with each other, fell, got back up, and continued running. Their faces showed determination that Zethkri had previously only seen in battle-hardened warriors. "Notice how they coordinate without central command," Colonel Rivera added, taking the podium. "See how they adapt their strategies in real time. Watch how they support teammates who fall behind." The video shifted to show other activities. Human children climbing structures called jungle gyms that would challenge an adult Thorac warrior. Younglings competing in spelling bees with the same fierce concentration that Mantis pilots brought to deep space navigation. Small humans, learning martial arts with a discipline that reminded Zethkri of ancient Corvan meditation warriors. "Your warriors train for war," Captain Chen said, returning to the center. "Our children train for everything." The next series of videos showed human educational institutions, but these weren't the sterile knowledge transfer facilities that most species used. Human schools were chaos. Controlled chaos, but chaos nonetheless. Children worked in groups, argued passionately about abstract concepts, built things with their hands, performed in front of their peers despite obvious nervousness. "Every human child learns to fail," Rivera explained. "They fail at games, at tests, at performances. And every time they fail, they have a choice: quit or try again. We don't punish failure, we celebrate the attempt. A video showed a young, human girl, perhaps 7 years old, attempting to perform something called a piano recital. Her small fingers stumbled over the keys, missing notes, losing rhythm. Zethkri expected to see shame or punishment, but instead the audience of adults and children applauded encouragingly. The girl smiled, bowed, and walked off the stage with her head held high. By the time a human reaches military age, Chen continued, they've already experienced thousands of small defeats and learned to overcome each one. They've competed, collaborated, and adapted. They've learned that every challenge is just another problem to solve. The presentation continued for 2 hours, showing human children engaged in activities that seemed designed to simulate every possible aspect of military life. Team sports that taught unit cohesion, academic competitions that honed strategic thinking, art classes that developed creative problem-solving, music ensembles that required precise coordination and timing. "This is impossible," whispered Counselor Marthy of the ethereal hegemony. "You cannot train warriors from birth without breaking their minds." Captain Chen smiled, the first genuine expression Zethkri had seen from her. "We're not training warriors, Counselor. We're training humans. The warrior part comes naturally when it's needed." The final video showed a human playground during what they called recess. Hundreds of children, ages 5 to 12, scattered across an area filled with climbing structures, running tracks, and open fields. To most galactic species, it looked like barely controlled chaos. But as Zethkri watched more carefully, he began to see the patterns. Children formed temporary alliances to tackle challenging climbing structures, then dissolved those groups to form new ones for different activities. They negotiated rules for their games in real time, adapted to changing numbers of participants, and resolved conflicts through a combination of discussion and acceptable social hierarchies. When one child was injured, others immediately provided assistance without being instructed to do so. "Every recess is a simulation," Rivera said quietly. "Resource competition, alliance building, tactical planning, logistics coordination, crisis, response unit cohesion. They do it instinctively because it's fun." As the presentation ended, the amphitheater fell silent. Zethkri found himself recalculating everything he thought he knew about human military effectiveness. They weren't just efficient killers hired for their lack of fear and moral flexibility. They were the product of a species that had turned childhood itself into a comprehensive military preparedness program, without even realizing it. "Questions?" Captain Chen asked. Admiral Vostar's tentacles writhed nervously. "How many of your children participate in these training programs?" "All of them," Chen replied simply. "It's not training, Admiral. It's just growing up human." Ambassador Zethkri felt a chill run down his carapace as he finally understood why human mercenaries were so effective. They weren't just soldiers. They were the inevitable result of a species that had accidentally created the perfect warrior culture while thinking they were just having fun. The galaxy had been hiring the wrong thing entirely. They thought they were buying mercenaries. They had been hiring an entire civilization of warriors who didn't even know that's what they were.